Release the Kraken!
Greetings, fellow game designers. Ron here at Lame Duck Studios, and today we're going to be taking a look at how to make some doors. But before you get started, you do need to have a character or a way to interact with the scene. In my case, I happen to have our top-down character from before, but you can use a first-person character or whichever one you like. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and just jump out of here. I go over and create a prefabs folder. So, assets, create folder, I'll call this prefabs. Jump into here, and I will make a new prefab. So create prefab. I'm going to call this door. And since this door is going to open on a hinge, I'm going to call it hinged door. Okay, just rename that. Like so. Double click it. Inside of here, I'm going to go ahead and create an empty object. This is going to be the hinge. And then inside the hinge, I'm going to make my 3D object. This is going to be the door. Okay. Now the reason I'm doing a hierarchy structure like this is we want to be able to control the pivot point of the door. And it's a lot easier to do that using a secondary object. So in here, I'm going to go over to center. I'm going to change this to pivot. And then I take my door. Let's go ahead and size this up. I'm going to do a size of maybe 2 wide by 3 tall. And then for the depth, I'll do that as 0.25. I'm then going to move the door because right now it's sitting halfway through the ground. Let's go ahead and move that up. I'm going to go up to Y. I'm going to do halfway, which is 1.5 because our height is 3. I also want our door to be positioned with one of its sides on the center grid line. That way the door will swing. So I'm going to come over and I'll just do 1. And that'll shuffle it one way or the other. If you want to go the other way, you can do a -1. It doesn't really matter. And if I were to select the hinge, you can see that the hinge is down here at the bottom corner. Okay. And if I were to open the door, I can use the hinge to control how that door opens. Yay. And make sure the hinge is at 0. I'm not going to do anything fancy on that. But I will build a frame around the door. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead, right click up here, I'll come down to create empty. I'm going to call this frame. And then inside of my frame, I'll just make some cubes. So 3D object, cube. I'll hit the front icon here to go to a front view. Hit it again. That way I can kind of size up. And I'll position the frame however I like. To duplicate my frame, I'm going to do Control D. And I'll just drag that one on the other side. And then I'll make another one. This will be the top frame. Let's position that at 1 and then 3. I'll make the height 0.25. Make the width 2.5. That's pretty good. Okay, let's go back into perspective here. And I can see what's going on. It's good. I'm going to just label these in case I need to work on them later. So this will be top. From this perspective, that's forward. So this will be the left side. That makes this one the right. And of course you can work to make this perfect. I'm not going to be that worried about it, but I will make this a little bit nicer. Maybe 0.6. Okay, so I can go ahead and close down the frame, and then I have the hinge with the door in it. I'm going to throw on some color for good measure. I'm going to go to my materials. Go ahead and make a material here. I'll make a brown. Brown is just dark orange, so I'll go ahead and just find that on here. And then whatever color you want to make for the door, maybe I'll throw on yellow. Cool. And I can put that in my scene. So in here, go down to my prefabs, drag that in, and look, I've got a door. Cool. Now it doesn't do anything, so I'm going to jump into my door here, go to the main object, let's go ahead and add a component. Let's go ahead and make an animator. Now of course you can animate the door or you can use code. Either one works. We're going to do a bit of a hybrid. We're going to use the animator to control the swinging, and we'll use the code to actually interact with opening and closing. Inside of here, of course, we need a controller, so I'll go ahead and make an animations folder. Create folders, animation. Inside there, I'll make a animation controller. So create animator controller. Call this hinged door. Jump into my prefab. Make sure I add that. Okay. I'm going to jump out. And let's go to Window, go down to Animation, and then get the animation. We'll go ahead and just dock that onto here. Select your hinged door. And you'll see you have an option to create. I'll go ahead and hit Create. I'm going to make this one hinged door open. Make sure I go to my assets and I'll drop that into the animations folder. Hit save. And there we go. So now we have to add a property. I'll hit add property. And you can see we have a few options. The transform is the actual transform of our main object. You also have a hinge. If you hit the drop down of that, there is a transform inside of there. And you also have some stuff for the frame if you want. I'm going to go ahead and grab the transform of the hinge. I'll open that, and I'll get the rotation. I'll hit plus. Cool. And now all I have to do is to figure out how long I want it to take for the animation to run. I think 1 second is good. So I'm going to leave this one at 0. Go ahead, hit the drop down. Let's go ahead and scroll all the way to the end. And at this position, I want to open the door. So I'm going to hit E to rotate. And I'll just drag the rotation handle until the door is open as far as I want. Cool. Now you can have your door swing in or out. It doesn't really matter. But wherever you get the door, if you're happy with it, come on over and just hit the little icon to add a key. And voila, you'll see these update over here. And if I were to play this, we get the door opening. Awesome. Now if you want, you can create a door closed, or you can create an animation for the door swinging the other way. I'll leave that up to you. In my case, I'm just going to go up to the animator. So Window, Animation, Animator. You can see this is what we have inside of here. We have the hinge door for open, we have an exit, and some other stuff. All I'm going to do in here is I'm going to right click, create an empty. I'll just call this idle. And I will right click and make this the default, because our door won't be doing anything in the beginning. I'm going to take my hinge door open, and to make things simple, I'm just going to call this open. Okay. Now the animation that's attached to it is going to be my hinged door open. And you'll see why I'm doing that in just a minute. I'm going to take my open, Control D. I'm going to name this one close. All I'm going to do here is come down to my speed and change it to a -1. And suddenly, I have the ability to open and close the door using the same animation. And that's pretty cool. Okay, go ahead and just line those up. The position of this doesn't really matter. It's just for visual clarity. I'll save it in here. Let's create a script. I'll go down to my projects, scripts. Let's go ahead and create a new script. And I'll just call this door. Now we don't need to have multiple scripts for multiple doors. We can actually use the same setup for every door. Okay, so inside of our C# script here, let's go ahead and clear out everything else. And all I need to do in here is create a private variable. We're going to do this as a bool. I'm going to call this isOpen. And we'll set it to false in the beginning. And then we'll do a private onTriggerEnter. We'll also need an onTriggerExit. So private void onTriggerExit. And all we're going to do is walk up to the door, and when we touch a boundary box, the door will open. When we step away, the door will close. So we'll do a simple check. If the door is not open, so exclamation point is open. So if the door is not open, then we're going to set is open to true. And then we'll get the animator. So get component. We want to get the animator. And we're going to call the play function. Inside of there, we're going to call the name of the animation that we're going to play. And that's going to be open. Like so. And this is why we're going to use a generic name. Because if you have a different door, you just call the open animation. And we can change out the animation actually being played on the animator. Down here, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to say if, and we'll say is open. Except this time we're checking if it's true. So no exclamation point. Let's go ahead and do is open. And this time, if it is open, we want to set it to closed. So we'll say false. And then we're going to go ahead and get the component. Get the animator. And then we want to play the closed animation. So close. Like so. Go ahead and save it. Let's go back to our prefab. And then I'll go to scene view here. Let's make sure that our main object has our script. So hit add component. I want this to be the door script. Very good. We also need to have a boundary box that will act as our trigger. So on the main door object, I'm going to come down, add component. I'll do a box collider. And I want to position this so that it fits roughly the shape of my door. So it's way over here in the corner. To do that, I'm going to take a look at my door. And we can see that the scale of my door is 2, 3, and then 0.25. So I'll come over to the main object, come down to the collider. I'm going to take the center. I'll push it over by 1 because it's halfway through 2. For my Y value, I'm going to push it at 1.5 because that's halfway through 3. For the scale of my door, I'm going to do the same scale as my door shape. So 2 for the X. I'm going to do 3 for the Y. And then for the Z value, I'm going to do that at about 3 because I want the character to be able to touch the door before the door kind of like hits them, you know? And I do want to make sure that this is set to trigger. And I can save that. I'll jump out. Let's go ahead and test it. There's my door. I'll walk up. It opens. Oh, look at that. If I walk away, it closes. Ooh, that's kind of weird. Let's go ahead and hit stop. So what's happening here is our animation is looping. So I'm going to come down to animations. I'll grab the animation file, come over to loop time, go ahead and uncheck that. Let's try that again. Alright, I'll walk up to it. Hey, it opens. If I walk away, it closes. Cool. Awesome. Now you might notice a bit of a weird thing. You can get whacked by the door. Which is why it's a good idea to make sure that the boundary box is going to be a bit farther out before the player hits it so it doesn't get whacked as the door's opening. And that is how you can make a very simple door. In the next one, we'll take a look at how to interact with the door using an interface. Okay, so save your work, stay tuned, and I shall see you next time. Hey guys, thanks for checking out my channel. Misty and I both thank you. If you enjoyed that video you just watched, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, there's Lame Duck Studios merch. Grab yourself a cool hat, sweater. You can always check out my Patreon, where you can get access to exclusive content just for my patrons, as well as videos ad-free ahead of time. Or pick up one of my books. The Life and Times of Dinah Marton is about a criminal psychologist who moonlights as a serial killer, and The Guardian's Path of Ascension is about 5 teens who realize they have the power of gods and have to save the universe. Both of those are available on Amazon. There are links down in the description. And The Guardians is going to be converted into a comic book. I'm working with my artist Patrick. We're pretty excited. We're shooting for an October release. You can see some of the work that's been done here. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.